Here's something to think about. There's a word that's been costing you money, and that word is fixed, as in fixed expenses. When I say fixed expenses, what's your first impression? If you're like most people, you associate fixed with words like unchangeable, permanent, and unavoidable. That's why this word is costing you money. A fixed expense is nothing like unchangeable or unavoidable. It's just an expense that's the same amount every month. Today we're going to show fixed who's the boss. We're going to unfix our fixed expenses and save a bundle in the process. We're Mike and Stephanie from SixFiguresUnder.com, where we teach families how to budget, get out of debt, and make smart financial choices. This is day 8 of the Frugal Fresh Start Challenge. If you're just joining us, you can find a link below to the prior days of the challenge and get a free workbook to help you get your finances in order.
So today we're going to learn how to reduce our fixed expenses. Now we're getting to the fun stuff. Like Mike said, a fixed expense is simply an expense with a predictable amount. You know what it's going to be every time because it doesn't change. That doesn't mean you can't change it, it just means it's the same every month. Look through the budget you made on day 7 and identify which of your expenses are completely predictable, the same amount every month. They don't have to be every month either. Don't forget fixed expenses that come every 6 months like property taxes, or yearly like subscriptions or annual memberships. Really, pause for a minute and do that right now. We'll wait. Okay, so you have a list of all your fixed expenses. Look at this list and realize that none of these are unchangeable and permanent. As a matter of fact, there might be some things you can get rid of right now. Look carefully at your list one by one and ask this question. Is there any item on this list that is less important to you than your big 6-month financial goal? What about a Netflix or Disney Plus subscription? What about Amazon Prime? A newspaper or magazine subscription? Gym or club membership? If you find a fixed expense that you can cut out completely, do it. Today's a great day to reprioritize your spending.
Now, maybe you just cut an expense out of your budget entirely. That would be awesome. We're going to revisit that idea just for a moment because for some of you, canceling Netflix is not going to be enough. For some of you, it may be canceling a car payment, an insurance bill by selling the car. It might be canceling your curbside waste pickup and instead driving your refuse to the dump every month or so. It might even be canceling a mortgage payment and homeowner's insurance by selling your house. Now, does that sound extreme? For people tinkering around the edges of their budget, yeah, that's going to feel extreme, but extreme budget cutting might be just the thing for 2 groups of people. First, some of you are in a financial emergency. We hear from you and it breaks our hearts because we know it's just so hard. If you are in an emergency, you may need to take emergency measures. Now, what that means for you is your decision, but don't take anything off the table without serious consideration. Would it help to move? Would it help to sell a vehicle? That might be what it takes. The second group that should consider extreme measures is people who are laser focused on a big financial goal and decide that they're willing to give up conventional comforts to reach their why. Now that was us, as we focused everything for 3 years on paying off $144,000 of student loans. We lived rent-free in an unfinished basement generously offered by family. We drove old, uncomfortable cars into the ground. We hauled our trash to the dump. We dropped every expense that was not absolutely necessary. And if you're in this group, go to town. Cut as much as you can. Have fun with it. Believe it or not, it's actually kind of fun.
For many of your fixed expenses, though, you'll probably not be cutting them out completely. We're going to try to reduce them instead. How do you do that? There are 2 ways. You either shop around or you just ask. We'll start with shopping around. For example, we have some dear friends who each have their own cell phone and pay $90 a month for their service. That's $180 a month for cell phone service for their family of 2. This is an easy fixed expense to reduce. Without even working hard, they could switch to a plan that costs less than half of that and covers them both with unlimited data and new phones. Working just a tiny bit harder, they could sign up for Republic Wireless or Mint Mobile or Ting and cut their family bill by 3/4 to about $40 a month. That expense would stay fixed, but would fix at a much smaller amount, and they would have over $100 a month to do something else with. Get out your workbook and look at day 8. You may need to print extra copies of the research page or just make your own version on a plain piece of lined paper on the computer. For each expense, write what the expense is, how much it costs, and then do some research. Could the expense be eliminated entirely? If not, How much do the competitors cost? Are there differences in the competitors' offering that make them more or less attractive? Do this for each expense and you might be amazed at how much you can unfix your fixed expenses.
Sometimes the competitor is actually just a different offering by the same company. So for example, we first moved into our home and it had no internet access. We paid Comcast $5,000 to extend their cable internet lines to our house, and then we paid them $70 a month for internet access. The only other option would have been to build a tower about 55 feet high so we could pick up signal from a fixed wireless antenna because the direct line of sight is obscured by the terrain. So there really isn't an option besides Comcast for our internet. But after the introductory offer of $70 ran out, Comcast tried to switch us to an $80 plan, and we looked again. It turns out that in the meantime, Comcast had started offering a plan with only slightly slower speeds for $65 a month. So 10 minutes later, our monthly bill had gone from $80 to $65 for an annual savings of $180. Now that's not going to break the bank, but $15 a month every month from here on out is a nice result for just a couple of minutes of research and a few minutes to log onto the Comcast website and make the change.
And that's one of the great things about lowering your fixed expenses. Once you fix them at a lower amount, they keep staying lower every month, freeing up cash for other priorities each month without any additional work on your part. It's worth it to look at competitors and shop around. Why on earth would you pay more unnecessarily when you could get the exact same thing for less and use the extra on something that's more important to you than your monthly bills? And don't forget the biggest expenses. We just recently refinanced our home, moving from a 15-year fixed mortgage at 3.625% interest to a 15-year fixed at 2.875% interest. That's a savings of $1,000 a year at a total cost of about 6 hours of research, application, document review, and signing. Just be careful. Many of the so-called no-cost refinance loans out there have plenty of cost. They're just rolled into the new loan, where you pay interest on them for the rest of the loan, instead of having you pay out of pocket during the refi. We'll have a numbers full description of the refi coming up soon over on the blog.
But shopping around isn't the only way to lower your bills. Sometimes you can just ask. This can go hand in hand with shopping around or be its own separate strategy. Our first experience with reducing bills was just a few months after Stephanie and I were married. We were leaving our little apartment for an international internship, and I called the phone company to cancel our landline and our internet service. Now, as soon as the representative heard me use the word cancel, the better deals started rolling in. And it turns out that without even trying, I could have just called and saved $20 a month on that bill. We couldn't do much about it at that time since we were actually leaving the country and wouldn't need any service, but we've carried the lesson with us since then. Rates are negotiable. Sometimes you can just ask. I highly encourage you to call at least one of your companies that you regularly pay a fixed bill to and say something like this. Hey, I've been a loyal customer for X number of years, and I really like your service, but I feel like I'm paying too much. I get offers in the mail about signing up for other providers at much cheaper rates, and I'd like to stay with you if it's possible. Is there anything you can do to lower our rate? If they say yes, boom, you just got paid every month for that one phone call you made. If they say no, you lost nothing. You'll probably never meet that customer service rep. They won't call you out in your next social event. You're not going to be known as a cheapskate. You gave it a shot, and that's all you needed to do.
So that's the idea for today. The Day 8 challenge is to look at your fixed expenses with new eyes and figure out how you will eliminate or reduce them. Research competitors, call and ask for the best possible deal, and don't be afraid to make a change. You could save tens, hundreds, or thousands each month.
So please, let us know how it goes in the comments below. These are exciting things to share, and it can also be really helpful for others to see how your expense cutting is working out. We really look forward to seeing your comments.
And we'll see you next time for Day 9 of the Frugal Fresh Start Challenge.